On every hand stretched the forest primeval, the home of noisy comedy and silent tragedy. Here the struggle for survival continued to wage with all its ancient brutality. Briton and Russian were still to overlap in the land of the rainbow's end, and this was the very heart of it. Nor had Yankee gold yet purchased its vast domain. The wolf pack still clung to the flank of the caribou herd, singling out the weak and the big with calf, and pulling them down as remorselessly as were it 1,000 generations into the past. The sparse aborigines still acknowledged the rule of their chiefs and medicine men, drove out bad spirits, burned their witches, fought their neighbors, and ate their enemies with a relish which spoke well of their bellies. But it was at the moment when the Stone Age was drawing to a close. Already, over unknown trails in chartless wildernesses, were the harbingers of the steel arriving. Fair-faced, blue-eyed, indomitable men, incarnations of the unrest of their race. By accident or design, single-handed and in twos and threes, they came from no one knew whence, and fought, or died, or passed on, no one knew whither. The priests raged against them. The chiefs called forth their fighting men, and stone clashed with steel, but to little purpose. Like water seeping from some mighty reservoir, they trickled through the dark forests and mountain passes, threading the highways in bark canoes, or with their moccasined feet breaking trail for the wolf dogs. They came of a great breed, and their mothers were many. But the fur-clad denizens of the Northland had this yet to learn. So many an unsung wanderer fought his last and died under the cold fire of the Aurora, as did his brothers in burning sands and reeking jungles, as they shall continue to do, till in the fullness of time, the destiny of their race is achieved. Hello, welcome to Examining Fictional Heroes and the authors behind them. My name is Wayne Browder, and I'm still struggling with my voice. That was the beginning of the short story, The God of His Fathers, by Jack London. That is in this volume, Tales of the North, written by Jack London. In it, you will meet the protagonist, Haystockard, the antagonist, Red Baptiste, who blames the church for all his woes, among others. At this point, Haystockard and his companion, Bill, are the only white men in this village. Red Baptiste is a half-breed. But as I said, he blames the church for all of the things that have been done to him. I love the church like a good son, Bien. So great a love that my days have been spent in fleeing away from her, and my nights in dreaming dreams of reckoning. Look you, the half-breed's voice rose to an angry snarl. I am Red River born. My father was white as you, but you are a Yankee, and he was British bred and a gentleman's son. And my mother was the daughter of a chief, and I was a man. I and one had to look the second time to see what manner of blood ran in my veins. For I lived with the whites, and was one of them, and my father's heart beat in me. It happened there was a maiden, white, who looked on me with kind eyes. Her father had much land and many horses. Also, he was a big man among his people, and his blood was the blood of the French. He said the girl knew not her own mind, and talked over much with her, and became wroth that such things should be. But she knew her mind, for we came quick before the priest, and quicker had come her father, with lying words, false promises, I know not what, so that the priest stiffened his neck and would not make us that we might live one with the other. As at the beginning, it was the church which would not bless my birth, so now it was the church which refused me marriage and put the blood of men upon my hands. Thus have I cause to love the church. So I struck the priest on his woman's mouth, and we took swift horses, the girl and I, to Fort Pierre, where was a minister of good heart. But hot on our trail was her father and brothers, and other men he had gathered to him. And we fought, our horses on the run, till I emptied 3 saddles, and the rest drew off, and we went on to Fort Pierre. Then we took east, the girl and I, to the hills and forests, and we lived one with the other, and we were not married, the work of the good church which I love like the sun. But mark you, for this is the strangeness of woman, the way of which no man may understand. One of the saddles I had emptied was that of her father, and the hoofs of those who came behind him pounded him into the earth. This we saw, the girl and I, and this I had forgot, had she not remembered. And in the quiet of the evening, after the day's hunt was done, it came between us. And in the silence of the night, where we lay beneath the stars and should have been one, it was there always. She never spoke, but it sat by our fire and held us ever apart. She tried to put it aside, but at such times it would rise till it could read it in the look of her eyes, in the very intake of her breath. So in the end, she bore me a child, a woman child, and died. Then I went among my mother's people that it might nurse at a warm breast and live. But my hands were wet with the blood of men, look you, because of the church, wet with the blood of men. And the riders of the north came for me. But my mother's brother, who was then chief in his own right, hid me and gave me horses and food. And we went away, my woman child and I, even to the Hudson Bay country, where white men were few, and the questions they asked not many. And I worked for the company as a hunter, as a guide, as a driver of dogs, till my woman child was become a woman, tall and slender, and fair to the eyes. You know the winters, long and lonely, breeding evil thoughts and bad deeds. The chief factor was a hard man and bold, and he was not much that a woman would delight in looking upon. But he cast eyes upon my woman child, who has become a woman. He sent me away on a long trip with the dogs, that he might. You understand, he was a hard man and without heart. She was most white, and her soul was white, and a good woman, and, well, she died. It was bitter cold the night of my return, and I had been away months, and the dogs were limping sore when I came to the fort. The Indians and breeds looked on me in silence, and I felt the fear of I knew not what. But I said nothing, till the dogs were fed and I had eaten as a man with work before him should. Then I spoke up, demanding the word, and they shrank from me, afraid of my anger and what I should do. But the story came out, the pitiful story, word for word, and they marveled that I should be so quiet. When they had done, I went to the factor's house, calmer than now in the telling of it. He had been afraid and called upon the breeds to help him, but they were not pleased with the deed, and had left him to lie in the bed he had made. So he had fled to the house of the priest. Thither I followed. But when I was come to that place, the priest stood in my way, and spoke soft words, and said a man in anger should go neither to the right nor left, but straight to God. I asked by a father's wrath that he give me past, but he said only over his body, and besought with me to pray. Look you, it was the church, always the church. For I passed over his body and sent the factor to meet my woman child before his God, which is a bad God, and the God of the white men. Then was there hue and cry, for word was sent to the station below, and I came away. Through the land of the great slave, down the valley of the Mackenzie, to the never-opening ice, over the White Rockies, past the great curve of the Yukon, even to this place did I come. And from that day to this, yours is the first face of my father's people I have looked upon. May it be the last. These people, which are my people, are simple folk, and I have been raised to honor among them. My word is their law, and their priests but do my bidding, else would I not suffer them. When I speak for them, I speak for myself. We ask to be let alone. We do not want your kind. If we permit you to sit by our fires, after you will come your church, your priests, and your gods. And know this, for each white man that comes to my village, him will I make deny his God. You are the first, and I give you grace. So it were well you go, and go quickly. I am not responsible for my brothers. The second man spoke up, filling his pipe in a meditative manner. Hay Stockard was at times as thoughtful of speech as he was wanton of action, but only at times. So there you have it. Red Baptiste blames the church for all the evils that have befallen him. Hay Stockard is by no means a sterling example of the faith. He is up there for the same purpose as most whites at that time were, in the hunt for gold. And that was his only real interest. He had been living with a native woman and bore a son. And he, his friend Bill, his wife and child were the only ones there besides the natives. Until, as it happens, shortly after this conversation, a missionary enters the village. And one that has a slight history with Hayes Stockard as well. And Stockard tries to tell him that this is no place for him and that he should leave. But he is too stubborn to do so. So Reb Baptiste comes back before Hayes Stockard and demands that he gives up the priest. Confounded, Baptiste couldn't think of it, not for a moment. Grant that this man is a fool and of small use in the nature of things, but still, you know, I can't give him up. Hayes Stockard paused, striving to put into speech the rude ethics of his heart. He's worried me, Baptiste, in the past and now, and caused me all manner of troubles. But can't you see? He's my own breed, white, and why, I couldn't buy my life with his, not if he were black. So be it, says Reb Baptiste. I have given you grace and choice. I shall come presently with my priests and fighting men, and either shall I kill you or you deny your God. Give up the priest to my pleasure, and you shall depart in peace. Otherwise, your trail ends here. My people are against you. To the babies are they against you. Even now have the children stolen away your canoes. Give up the priest, and you may have them back again. Come, speak your mind, but without haste. Hayes Stockard considers it briefly. Sturgis Owen, the missionary, claims he is not afraid. His partner Bill urges him to tie Reb Baptiste and hold him hostage until they can get out of there. Pardon me. No, Stockard answered. I gave him my word that he could speak with us unmolested. Rules of warfare, Bill. Rules of warfare. He's been on the square, giving us warning and all that. And I can't break my word. He'll keep his, never fear, said Bill. So, they watch as the medicine men start to encourage the fighting men. Bill takes a shot at them and kills the medicine man, hoping to precipitate an attack before dusk, but it doesn't work. Hayes Stockard, as I said, not the best example of a Christian. Before the battle is engaged, he has the missionary marry him and the native woman and baptize the child. But in the end, they are overrun by the natives. Bill is killed. The woman and the child are killed. Hayes Stockard goes down, but eventually finds an axe and continues to fight. They fell underfoot, and he trampled dead and dying, the way slippery with blood. And still the day brightened, and the robins sang. Then they drew back from him in awe, and he leaned breathless upon his axe. "Blood of my soul," cried Baptiste the Red, "but thou art a man. Deny thy God, and thou shalt yet live." Stockard swore his refusal, feebly but with grace. Presently they find the missionary who had been hiding. And when he is brought before Red Baptiste, he does deny his God. Hay Stockard swept the blood from his eyes and laughed. He allows the missionary to be walked down to the river to go down to the Russians and tell them to not come up there. The half-breed turned to Hay Stockard. "There is no God," he prompted. The man laughed in reply. One of the young men poised a war spear for the cast. "Hast thou a God?" "Aye, the God of my fathers." He shifted the axe for a better grip. Baptiste the Red gave the sign, and the spear hurtled full against his breast. Sturgis Owen saw the ivory head stand out beyond his back, saw the man sway, laughing, and snap the shaft short as he fell upon it. Then he went down to the river that he might carry to the Russians the message of Baptiste the Red, in whose country there was no God. So, this man, Hay Stockard, was offered a second chance. His second chance was to deny his God so that he could live. And he refused. So unlike the characters that we discussed in the previous episodes, dedicated to second chances, he has an opportunity to do something to save his life, and he refuses. Now, as you have probably gathered from what I did read, Hay Stockard was not what you would consider a sterling example of Christianity. And if you seriously examine yourself, you have to admit, all of us have to admit, that we are not either. But the bottom line was, he was given an opportunity to recant, and he refused. I've mentioned before that we seem to live in a society where people will say things, and as soon as they start getting a little social pressure, they apologize, they back off of it, whatever. They even delete posts in an effort to remove evidence from it. If you do these things, clearly your beliefs are very thin. You don't believe in them enough to stand on them. hope if ever I am put in such a situation that I could be as strong as Hay Stockard was in that moment. We should all hope and pray for such an outcome in case such a thing were to befall us. So, my point overall is sometimes when you are offered a second chance, it is not wise to take it, but rather to stand firm in your original position. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's of some value to you. Guys, I appreciate you hanging with me. I'm still having a lot of difficulty. I meant to do this episode actually last week. The voice just would not allow me to do it. And I've taken several takes, more than usual, to get through this today. Thank you for bearing with me. Guys, I appreciate any input you might give me. Comments, likes, dislikes, any follows if any of you guys are watching. I could use that. I do appreciate everyone who has done it. There is growth. It's very slow, but my overall hope is that the things that I'm discussing and that I'm trying to put forward are of value. So once again, I appreciate your time. You have a good night. Thank you.